Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. I want to go back to Saturday, and I want to go back to, I think you can argue one of the more interesting results of the entire NCAA tournament because the manner in which it happened, okay? So you think about Houston, Tennessee. It could have been Houston or Tennessee that won, but we kind of knew how the game was going to go, and the game kind of went like that. Same with Auburn and Michigan State. Physical, tough, elbows, this, that, whatever. Duke and Alabama, we knew were two of the better teams in college basketball, probably two top 5 teams, and it sucked they had to meet in the Elite Eight. It's funny, I give credit to our Torres on Ohio State guy. His name's Dom. We were texting going into that game, and he said, you know what this reminds me of, Torres? I said, what, Dom, what does it remind you of? He said, it reminds me of Oregon, Ohio State in the college football playoff, where you knew they were two of the best teams, if not the two best teams, and you were like, darn, why do they have to play so early in the playoff? And that was the way the bracket broke in football. That was the way the bracket broke in basketball. Now, I don't think it was quite that because obviously Alabama wasn't the number 1 team in the country. But I just bring it up because this was set to be an incredible game. Duke puts up 100 on Thursday night against Arizona. Alabama puts up 113 against BYU on 25 three-pointers. Never really got like that. Never really got that close. And that is because Duke beats Alabama. Final score, 85-65. The same Alabama team that put up 113 points the other night had literally half of that amount on Saturday night. The Alabama team that made 25 three-pointers, an NCAA tournament record, was limited to 8 of 32 shooting from the field. So Duke not only wins, but Duke rolls. And listen, this is no disrespect to Florida, Houston, or Auburn, all deserving number 1 seeds, all deserving Final Four teams. It's hard not to say that Duke is the favorite, though, okay? As far as this game is concerned, listen, I think this game, we talked about the Auburn game being a metaphor for Auburn season where Janai Broome goes down and the other players just step up. Well, I bring it up. This was kind of a metaphor for Duke's season in more than one way. First of all, Cooper Flagg, who I think is maybe the best one-and-done freshman I've ever seen, top to bottom, can do everything. Zion was more physically gifted. Melo won a title, so we'll see what happens, But Cooper Flagg does a little bit of everything. Cooper Flagg was only okay in this game. 16 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. When you're a freshman, the second youngest player in college basketball, and that's only an okay game for you, you're pretty freaking good, okay? So Cooper Flagg was only okay, but other guys step up. Con Knipple, 21 points in this game, 2 of 4 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, Malowatch was his usual incredible self, 14 points, 9 boards, 2 blocks. Tyrese Proctor, 17 points, hit 2 threes early that I think kind of set the tone for this game. And I only bring it up to very simply say this, is that it was a team effort. It wasn't just Cooper Flagg. It wasn't just flashy offense. It was defense. And that's the story of this Duke team, is that we get so caught up in the NBA potential and what Cooper Flagg can do with the ball. The defense is the X factor. This is an elite top 10 in the country defensive team, size everywhere. And I would say this is that, and producer Matt, this will be your 2-minute clip right here for Duke, is that when I watch Duke, you know what really stands out to me? I think it's time to have an honest conversation about Jon Scheyer, because I've spent a lot of time on this show and Duke fans think I hate them, but I don't. And I think Cooper Flagg, not Duker Flagg, Cooper Flagg might be the best freshman that I have seen in college basketball. I also don't think Jon Scheyer is getting credit for what he has done with this team, okay? Because, and this is one thing, I'll be at the press conferences this week at the Final Four. I'm going to ask Jon Scheyer, and I'm sure he's talked about it, but he has put together the near perfect team around Cooper Flagg. And I'm so fascinated to know what was his vision the day Cooper Flagg signed and Cooper Flagg committed? Because if you look at this Duke team, first off, the size is unbelievable. And the size just overwhelms pretty much everybody. There's a reason they haven't lost themselves. They've lost 1 game since November. It's because the size is overwhelming. Malowatch, 7'2". Cooper Flagg, 6'9". Their guards, Sion James, 6'5". Tyrese Proctor, 6'5". I think Caleb Foster might be closer to 6'4", whatever. They're the tallest team in college basketball, and the size just overwhelms people. I go back to the North Carolina games, and I remember that first Carolina game at Duke, and I remember everybody, just throw out the records when rivals get together. And I'm like, no. Carolina is so small. They are not going to be able to do what they need to do against Duke. And fast forward, Duke beats them once. Then they dominate them in Chapel Hill before the ACC tournament. And that's just what they do to pretty much everybody. Now, Arizona, I thought matched up better than anybody that I've seen so far, at least, since ACC play started about 2.5 months ago. And I said, I think Arizona could keep it close. They end up covering. But even with Alabama, they have a lot of size with Grant Nelson, Omoyori, etc. But the counter to that is the guards are kind of small. And you could see Mark Sears, as great as he was against BYU, that size of Duke just absolutely overwhelmed Mark Sears. One of the worst games as an Alabama player. That's not a knock. It's just a reality. But that's the truth. That's where we are. That's what they do to teams, especially defensively. By the way, Chris Youngblood, another guy who was unbelievable basically since he got healthy in the middle of the year. He was okay. 10 points, 4 of 9 shooting, 1 of 5 from 3. This is a guy that just one game before that against BYU was 5 of 11 from the three-point line. And so that defense, I just think, is so overwhelming, and we have to give Jon Scheyer so much credit because I think Cooper Flagg as a player has been better than we expected. I think Jon Scheyer has been better than I expected as well. You go back to when he took over the job, year one, win the ACC tournament. I think they were on a 9-10 game winning streak going into the NCAA tournament. They win the ACC tournament, as I said. Last year, listen, weird thing against NC State. They had already beaten them a couple times, whatever. I'm not excusing losing to NC State in the Elite Eight, but we know that NC State thing was kind of fluky, and they were right on the cusp. But then I look at this year, and I think the accumulation of talent, but the accumulation of pieces and getting them all to play in harmony is absolutely unbelievable. The other thing I want to say, and now feels like the time to do it. You know who deserves a little bit of credit for this? It's going to kill you people. Coach K. I was thinking about this. So with Coach K, remember when he announced his retirement, I guess it would have been the summer of 2021, and he said, I'm going to retire at the end of this coming season. And we all took it as, and I'll be honest, Duke fans, you're going to crush me, but it's the truth. I took it as, it's a vanity thing, and he wants his flowers, and he wants this, and he wants that. But what was very clear was that in a changing college basketball landscape, Coach K was basically saying, you know what, Jon Scheyer, why don't you go ahead, you focus on all the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I'll just coach. You go out on the road recruiting. And again, remember, whenever they got a commitment, it was, Coach K's really doing the recruiting. Coach K wasn't even on the road recruiting that summer. So, he really wasn't recruiting. But Jon Scheyer got his staff in place. Remember, at the time, he hired Jay Lucas, who, of course, was the first non-Duke guy to come into that program in forever. Jon Scheyer, now it's the rage for everybody to hire a GM. North Carolina just hired a GM in basketball. Duke was the first team to ever have a GM that I'm aware of in either college football or major college basketball as well. Because he just said, look, I need somebody. This is a new world. I can't be worrying about raising money and NIL costs and how much does this guy want? How much does that guy want? I got to focus on coaching basketball. And so with Jon Scheyer, I think we got to give him credit, but I think we got to give Coach K a little bit of credit as well. Because to me, I just look at the way that Coach K, again, at the time, I think we all thought it was a vanity play. Well, Coach K, he's obviously just doing this to take his flowers, take his victory lap one more time in this. No. Coach K was doing this to have Jon Scheyer get set up, and now you see the repercussions and the dividends that have come with it. Listen, I just said it. Houston's amazing. Auburn's amazing. We're going to get to Florida here in half a second. But Duke's the favorite going into the Final Four. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They just deserve so much credit. And again, Jon Scheyer, the roster and the team that he has put together is just absolutely unbelievable. And you can't give him enough credit for everything that he's done.